Hi everyone, and welcome to the Sound Mind podcast, where we dive into the fascinating world of music psychology. I'm your host, Sophia, and as a music psychologist, I'll be guiding you through everything you've ever wanted to know about music. So whether you're a music lover or just interested in the science of sound, you're in the right place. So today I want to talk about singing. Even if we quote-unquote can't sing, we all enjoy a good sing-along, right? But why do we sing? And why does something as simple as singing in the shower feel so good? But also, why are we drawn to karaoke nights, to choirs, to singing along at the top of our lungs in the car with the windows down? Well, in this episode, we're diving into the psychology and science of singing, from its roots in early human evolution to the way that it shapes our emotions, identity, and sense of community today. So let's get into it. Before we dive into karaoke machines, car sing-alongs, or why we all suddenly feel like we sound like Adele in the shower, let's rewind way back to a time before language, before structured sentences, and actually before speech as we know it. Because here's something truly fascinating. Some researchers actually believe that singing may have come before spoken language. In other words, we were singing before we were speaking. And that's a bold idea, but it's actually grounded in evolutionary science. Charles Darwin himself proposed that musical ability might have been a stepping stone into the development of speech. And when you actually think about it, it does make sense. Sound came before syntax, and melody came before meaning. So imagine early humans. They didn't have a structured vocabulary, but they had voices. They could hum, chant, shift pitch and rhythm to communicate emotion, to alert others, or to soothe a crying child. These were vocalizations without formal grammar, but they were full of intent. Singing in this context, it wasn't art, it was function. It was how we connected, organized, and how we bonded. And in that way, singing really is primal. Not a luxury or a hobby, but actually a built-in human tool which is woven into our biology and our survival. One of the strongest theories around the evolution of singing is that it served as a social glue. Group singing helped early humans bond emotionally and physiologically. When people sing together, something remarkable happens. Actually, their heart rates synchronize. Their breathing falls into a shared rhythm, and their brains start to light up in similar ways. And this phenomenon, called entrainment, creates a kind of embodied harmony. It's no wonder that even now, singing with others can feel truly euphoric. Whether it's in a choir, at a concert, or even chanting with fans in a stadium, those moments of collective voice tap into something ancient in us. Singing helps small communities feel safe and connected. It fostered trust and reinforced social cohesion. And in evolutionary terms, it actually helped us survive because groups that trusted one another were more likely to cooperate and hence more likely to protect each other. But singing wasn't just for bonding. It was also a tool for coordination. Before language could give us instructions, we had rhythm. Think of rowing crews or hunters that needed to move in time. Chanting or singing created this shared tempo, helping groups act as one. Even spiritual or ritual practices often relied on vocalization to maintain structure and timing. Singing became a way to organize group action, not just express emotion. And even today, we see echoes of this. Think military cadences, football chants, religious hymns. It's the rhythm that binds us together. The melody carries a message, even in instances where we might not even fully understand the words. And then there's singing as caregiving. One of the earliest forms of singing, which is still present in nearly every culture on earth, is the lullaby. Mothers singing to their babies, fathers humming tunes to soothe their children. These gentle melodies are more than sweet moments, they're actually survival strategies. So infants respond to melodic vocalizations. In turn, their heart rates slow, their stress levels drop, and the parent-child bond is reinforced with this. It's evolutionary psychology in action. Singing creates this sense of emotional safety, which helps ensure the infant's survival. And some researchers suggest that these proto-lullabies laid the foundation for musical communication. The soothing tone of a caregiver's voice wasn't just calming, it was a signal of protection, trust, and love. And when you think about it, these are some of the first songs that we learn when we're put onto this earth. It's lullabies, it's nursery rhymes, and these are really the songs that build our foundation and, for a lot of us, help us discover why singing feels so good. I always found it amazing that no matter what culture you grow up in the world, it's very likely that we all learn the same lullabies and the same nursery rhymes, just with different words in different languages. And that's something that unites us all across the world. And it is because it's linked to the sense of emotional safety and the innocence that comes with our childhood. Learning these songs from our parents, our families, our teachers. It's such an amazing thing that unites all of us. And moving on from that, finally, singing played a role in shaping group identity. In early communities, shared songs became a marker of belonging. If you knew the chant or the melody, you were part of the group. And if you didn't, you were an outsider. Singing helped create these in-groups and out-groups. It was a form of cultural transmission which helped pass knowledge, beliefs, and identity all through sound. And today, that's still true. Think national anthems, team chants, protest songs. They all say the same thing. We're in this together. So the next time you find yourself singing in a crowd or even humming in the shower, just remember that it's not just a random behavior. It's an echo of something ancient, a thread that connects you to thousands of years of human history. It was, and it still is, something deeply and so beautifully human. So if singing is something that we've carried with us through millennia, deeply woven into our evolutionary fabric, the next question is, what's happening in the brain when we sing? Why does it feel so good, so moving, and even addictive at times? Let's zoom in from the evolutionary lens to the neurological one, because singing isn't just emotionally resonant, it's also biologically rewarding. So to start this off, let's hear from American neurosurgeon Dr. Sanjay Gupta on the health benefits of singing. I thought that this clip was a really good way to kind of summarize the overall benefits for the brain before we dive a little bit deeper into it.
So I'm a neurosurgeon, and I'm very interested in the brain, and I've been interested in what music does to the brain specifically. And singing in particular. And it's really interesting. I brought this brain model. I just want to show you that if you are just speaking the words to a song, that's sort of over here, the left temporal lobe typically, in most people. If you're also adding a tune to it, so actually adding the tune of the music to it, that's typically coming from the right parietal lobe. And it's interesting because now you're crossing the midline of the brain. And there aren't a lot of activities where you actually cross the midline of the brain. If you also add a beat to it, some sort of rhythm, that's typically the cerebellum. So here you have a situation now where just by singing a song, and some studies have said just by thinking about singing a song, you can activate so many different areas of the brain. So it's super healthy. It's super good for your brain to sing out loud, put a little rhythm to it. It's good for your physical health, but I think even more so for your mental health.
So just like Dr. Gupta said, when you sing, whether it's in a choir, on stage, or even just mumbling along to your playlist in the car, you're lighting up a surprising number of brain regions all at once. It's, when it comes to music, it's almost incomparable to any other activity. But let's start off with the neurochemistry. When we sing, especially with others, the brain releases a cascade of feel-good chemicals. Starting off with endorphins, which are natural painkillers and mood boosters. Then we have dopamine, which is the reward neurotransmitter that makes us feel pleasure. And perhaps most significantly, singing releases oxytocin, and this is often called the bonding hormone. And this is what I mentioned earlier. It's what helps mothers bond with their babies, for example. It's also released when we hug someone, during trust-building activities, and yes, group singing. Several studies have found stronger feelings of social connection among choir participants, as well as an increased overall well-being. Synchronized singing, like I mentioned earlier, has also been shown to synchronize heart rate, also contributing to this sense of unity. But singing isn't a music-only task. It's extremely multimodal, which means that it activates several different systems at once. You've got language centers like the Broca's and Wernicke's areas that are recruited to process the lyrics of the songs. Then you have the motor areas which guide the vocal muscle control like your tongue, your larynx, diaphragm, and your breath control. Then you've got the emotional centers such as the amygdala, which kick in when the music evokes feeling in you. And then you've got memory regions, especially the hippocampus, which help you recall the lyrics or the melodies, sometimes even ones that you haven't heard in years. And this actually helps explain why people with dementia who struggle to speak can still sing entire songs. It's one of the most profound and moving examples of music's power, how it can reach into areas of the brain that even disease can't fully silence. In neurodegenerative conditions like Alzheimer's, the regions responsible for language and short-term memory often deteriorate. But musical memory, especially for familiar songs, tends to be stored more diffusely across the brain, including in regions like the prefrontal cortex, which is often relatively preserved in early to mid stages of dementia. And this is why someone who has trouble recalling a loved one's name might still be able to sing the lyrics of a song that they haven't heard in years without missing a beat. Music bypasses damaged linguistic pathways and taps into deeper emotional and procedural memory systems. It's like a backdoor into the self, and honestly, it will never fail to amaze me. I used to work directly with dementia patients, and honestly, nothing compares to this feeling when you just see their eyes light up when they hear a familiar song and just being able to sing with them. It's such a beautiful thing to be a part of. Actually, the society that I was part of at university was called Music Impact in the Community, and we used to go out and work with different groups and kind of host music sessions with them. And one of the things that we did was have a choir with dementia patients, and yeah, it's just phenomenal to kind of really reach into that power of singing and enable that for them. They enjoy it so much, being able to reconnect not only with those kind of lost memories that those songs bring, but also just this sense of community, because it can be such a lonely time, even without dementia, and those kind of activities are so important. I do want to talk a little bit about those a little bit later as well. But in therapeutic settings, singing has really become a powerful tool. Music therapists often use what's called melodic intonation therapy, which is a technique that involves singing phrases instead of speaking them. And this method helps stroke patients with aphasia, which is a language disorder caused by brain damage. They literally learn to speak again by engaging the right hemisphere of the brain to kind of compensate for that damage that's caused in the left side. And it's truly amazing that singing can enable that kind of recovery and repair, and something that on a day-to-day basis when we're just singing along without a care in the world is definitely not something that we think about or that many people even realize. The rhythm and pitch contours of music provide this almost scaffolding, a kind of neural handrail that helps patients rebuild motor and verbal function. It's not just about memory here, it's about motor planning and auditory motor integration. So, how the brain coordinates breath, tongue, and vocal muscles with the auditory feedback. And singing strengthens this loop. One study in particular followed a group of stroke survivors over a 9-month period, and those who participated in regular singing sessions, whether that was group singing, even music listening, or active vocal exercises, they showed significantly greater improvements in verbal memory, attention, and even mood compared to patients who didn't receive that musical intervention. And it's an amazing example of neuroplasticity in action, our brain's ability to rewire itself. And there's something else happening under the surface, something social and something subconscious. Have you ever found yourself joining in when someone starts humming a familiar tune or singing out loud? Well, that's actually something called mirror neurons at work. And it literally makes singing contagious. Mirror neurons are specialized brain cells that fire both when we perform an action and when we observe someone else doing it. They were first discovered in the 1990s through studies on monkeys. And since then, mirror neurons have become a major focus in human neuroscience. They're believed to play a crucial role in empathy, learning, and imitation. And they help explain why music feels so contagious. When we watch someone sing, our mirror neurons simulate the act of singing ourselves. Our brain begins to prep our vocal cords, align our breath, and cue our facial muscles. And that's why you'll often see people subtly mouthing along during a concert or swaying their heads in sync with a melody. It's not always conscious, it's so deeply embodied in us. But now, I want to bust a myth that I think holds too many people back from singing. As a singer myself, I hear it from people all the time. Oh, I'm not a good singer, I can't sing. But I promise you, you do not need to be a good singer to enjoy the benefits of singing. You don't need perfect pitch. You don't need to hit every note. Your brain doesn't care if you're in tune. It actually only cares if you're vocalizing. You still get the endorphins. You still release oxytocin. You still simulate the parasympathetic nervous system, which helps you relax. And you still get that mood boost, the emotional regulation, and the creative outlet when you sing. And when we sing, even softly or awkwardly, we're engaging a complex neural network that involves auditory feedback, memory, motor control, and emotion. It's one of the most integrated activities we can do. That's why it's used in neurological rehabilitation and with dementia patients, like I mentioned, and why it feels so good. So whether you're belting it out in the car, humming in the shower, or singing lullabies to your child, just know this. You don't have to be a performer. You just have to participate, because singing isn't about sounding perfect. It's about feeling something. It's about connecting with yourself and with others. It's one of the most accessible, human, and healing things that we can do. Okay, I know that it's probably easier said than done, right? Singing feels like a deeply intimate and personal thing. So, if it is so innate and biological, why do we find ourselves singing when no one's around? I want to take a closer look at the psychology behind why singing feels so intimate in the first place and why it becomes a private ritual for so many of us. Because I understand you might not want to blast your voice out in front of a group of people, and that's completely fine. The fact is, when we're alone, our inner critic quiets down. We're no longer performing, we're just being. And in that space, singing really becomes a form of emotional regulation. Think about it. We hum when we're anxious, we belt out when we're angry. We might whisper sing when we're sad, or sing out loud when we feel joy bubbling up inside us that we need to release. And singing when we're alone is like giving our emotions a voice before we can even put words to them. Psychologists refer to this as a non-verbal emotional discharge, and it's one of the simplest, most instinctive ways that we self-soothe. There's a reason that the shower and the car have become sacred singing spaces. These environments give us something that we don't get anywhere else: privacy, resonance, and permission. The acoustics in a tiled bathroom or an enclosed car cabin actually naturally amplify and enrich your voice. You do sound fuller, more in tune, and more powerful, even if you're not a trained singer. I think we all can admit that we sound amazing in the shower, right? And that's actually a fact. It's a psychological feedback loop. You sound better, so you feel better, and so you keep singing. Add to that the sense of anonymity. There's no audience, no judgment, and suddenly all of your inhibitions melt away. You can be truly emotional, raw, joyful, free, and vulnerable. And actually, when you think about it, the shower and the car, they're also transitional spaces. You're between destinations, between moments. And in that kind of space, singing becomes ritualistic. It's almost like a grounding point. And there's something deeper happening too, because singing doesn't just express who we are in the moment. It helps form who we are over time. From the songs that we grew up with to the anthems of our teenage years, music becomes a container for memory, emotion, and self-understanding. Every time we sing a song that meant something to us, it's like opening up this time capsule. And this is especially true during periods of change, like heartbreak, grief. The songs that we cling to during those moments become part of our narrative identity. And when we sing them later, we're not just making noise, we're reconnecting with who we were and who we're becoming. I actually have a playlist just full of songs that I love to sing, and I've added them over the years, and I've also put in some songs that I used to sing when I was a kid during my teenage years, and sometimes I just put that playlist on shuffle, especially in the shower. Why not? And I absolutely love it. I feel like it just transports me back to those moments, and yeah, each song that I sing, I kind of feel this part of my identity that's linked with it, so that definitely resonates with me. But enough about my experience. I now want to share some incredible responses that I received from all of you guys when I asked over on Threads, why do you sing and what does singing mean to you? And what came back wasn't just feedback, it was pure testimony to the deep emotional and psychological imprint that singing leaves on all of our lives, and it made me so happy and touched to read all of them. So let's go through some of the highlights, and I want to start off with one that actually hit me right in the chest. One person said that I've been without my chorus for 6 months now, and it's like a part of me has died. I had rehearsal once a week or more for over 25 years, a competition once or twice a year, and of course, daily vocalizing. I recently joined a performing arts group to do a benefit concert for the Red Cross, and it's so healing for me to be able to perform and share joy with others. I sing for myself, yes, in the shower or the car, but singing for others is my passion. I think this beautifully mirrors what we've discussed about the kind of communal nature of singing. For many people, choirs aren't just a hobby, they're literally lifelines. And for this listener, the absence of group singing literally felt like grief. And that grief tells us how vital this form of connection is. And I also love how they said that they enjoy singing for others and not just with others. So good for you for spreading that joy. And I'm so glad that you found a new outlet. And I hope that you can find a new choir to join in the future. And then there are those whose relationship with singing is actually tied to healing past wounds. And I really appreciate them sharing their stories because these are really vulnerable and quite traumatic experiences to share. So I really appreciate that. One person said that I was used for my voice. I was a trophy daughter used for someone else's gratification. So when I sing today, I sing for me. And someone else said, as a child, I was always told to shut up. As I got older, I saved my voice, my words, my art, and my soul for when I was alone or with the rare person that I could trust. When my daughter was little, she would sing when she was happy. Her joy healed me. I sing now because it heals the world. Wow. And yeah, these really are stories of reclamation. Again, thank you so much for sharing these. Singing here isn't just expressive, it's redemptive, it's agency. And the act of singing becomes an act of self-definition, especially for those who have been silenced before. And interestingly, research also shows that singing stimulates the vagus nerve, which is connected to emotional regulation and trauma processing. It literally helps calm our nervous system and reclaim our voice, both physically and metaphorically. So that really is a beautiful thing. And I'm so glad that both of you do still sing. That's really a brave thing to do. And I hope that you still retain some of the joy in that as well. Another person shared that singing was my first piece, my first feeling of, so that's what it's like to fly. It made me believe in a new world, one that could actually hold me and care about me. It showed me beauty for the first time in my life. Singing was the method through which I saved my life, and it continues to ground me. It never gives under my emotional weight. It's like a massage for my insides. I started in choir, and now as a mum, I sing in the shower and along to Miss Rachel for my son. It's the best. That's so beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. Others spoke of singing as reflex, memory, and emotional release. Someone said that singing is almost like a reflex for me. I'll hear a word, it will remind me of a song, and I need to sing it right there and then if all possible. It's also a way to self-soothe, as well as a way to bond with my family and friends when singing together. Someone else said that music has always had a special place in my brain. Songs will bring back memories of events and even books that I read. I currently sing with a community chorus. I think that current singing unlocks emotions that I'm not always comfortable feeling. But when I sing in performance, I can't help but feel and let them out. I have learned to sing through tears. That's so beautiful, and I think both of these reflections really highlight how powerful music is as a self-regulation tool, but also to kind of re-bond us with parts of ourselves that we might not kind of reach to on a daily basis, but they're still there. And sometimes they arise through music and through song. And that's such a vulnerable thing. And to go on and sing publicly or in a group, even though you know that those feelings may arise, that's a really brave thing to do. And I promise you, you're not the only one feeling that way. And I think that's the benefit of singing in a group setting, that you always have each other to lean on and you have those shared experiences. So I hope that's something that brings you benefit in the long term. There was also this beautiful story that I want to end on about returning to music after a loss. Someone said that I was a clarinetist until health problems in 2011 took away my ability to play any instrument. I was devastated. In early 2022, a nearby symphony chorus had open rehearsals for Carmina Burana, my favourite piece of music and one I've sung multiple times. I had so much fun that I decided to audition and made it. To be back under the stage lights again after all that I'd been through, which was paralysis for several months, multiple surgeries and painful rehab, meant more than I'll ever be able to describe. I'm not a trained singer, but I love being part of this chorus family. I sing in a small a cappella church choir of 6 to 10 people and with 100 plus people in my symphony chorus. Both give me outlets to continue to be involved in performing when I thought I'd lost that forever. Wow, that's such a beautiful story, and it's resilience embodied. I think you're incredible. That's so amazing that you found your way back to music. I'm so happy to hear that, because it's obviously something that you love so much. And it's amazing that group singing offered a new path back to identity and creativity after this illness. And in healthcare settings, music has been used increasingly and recognized as this tool for rehabilitation and coping, especially in people dealing with neurological damage or long-term pain. And I love that singing here is not just symbolic, it's a literal act of recovery. And that's amazing. Thank you so much to all of you for responding and sharing your experiences. I say this every time, but I'm always blown away with your stories and the way that you're able to put things into words. It's perfect. It's amazing. And thank you so much. And these stories actually highlight that some of the most powerful musical moments in our lives, they don't happen when we're singing alone. They happen when we sing together. And there's a reason why thousands of people singing the same chorus at a concert can give you goosebumps, or why a simple chant at a protest can feel more powerful than a speech, or why you might find yourself getting emotional during a group hymn, even if you're not religious. This shared electricity does have a name. Psychologists call it collective effervescence. And this is a term that was first coined by sociologist Emil Durkheim in the early 1900s. He used it to describe the almost sacred energy that emerges when people come together and act in sync, whether it's dancing, marching, clapping, or, of course, singing. And when we sing together, something magical happens, not just emotionally, but biologically. I mentioned it earlier, and I've spoken about it in countless other episodes, but it's so amazing that I have to mention it again. Our breathing synchronizes, our heart rates align, and this is something known as rhythmic entrainment. Our voices, even if imperfect or mismatched, they begin to find rhythm and cohesion with each other. We physically tune into one another. And that physical synchrony, it lays the foundation for something deeper. This emotional synchrony. You do begin to feel more connected, more accepted, more alive. Your sense of self kind of softens a little bit, which makes room for the group. The I becomes we. And in these moments, singing becomes a kind of social glue, which binds people not just with sound, but with the feeling, presence, and breath that we all share. And it explains why total strangers can become like temporary comrades at a gig, why choirs often report this sense of deep emotional intimacy, even if they rarely speak outside of rehearsal, and why football fans feel like family, even if they only see each other for like 90 minutes a week. Collective singing taps into our most ancient, most primal need to belong. And in a world that can feel increasingly fragmented or isolating, these shared musical moments give us this rare and precious kind of unity. We don't just sing with each other, we feel with each other. And that just might be one of the most human things that we can do. So when I think of organised group singing, I think of choirs. And as it turns out, your choir rehearsal might be doing more for you than just improving your harmonies. I think we saw a testament to that from some of your stories earlier, but singing with others literally fast tracks human connection. And I mentioned previously in the episode that there are several studies that show that choir members bonded more quickly with each other than people in other social groups like creative writing classes or sports teams. The act of synchronized vocaling seems to create this accelerated sense of intimacy, something that usually takes time in other group activities. And researchers believe that it comes down to this sense of joint physical action and shared rhythm. When we sing together, we're not just communicating, we're aligning. And this simultaneity seems to build trust faster than traditional conversation or collaboration. It's like this social superglue. And the benefits aren't just psychological. One study found that 1 hour of group singing significantly increased pain thresholds in participants. And this increase was linked to the release of endorphins, which are those natural feel-good chemicals that I mentioned. So not only do people report feeling more emotionally uplifted after group singing, but they actually experience less physical pain. It's fascinating. A simple hour of shared song can make you feel bonded, emotionally boosted, and even physically resilient. And these findings have real-world applications. That's why singing is increasingly being used as part of well-being interventions in healthcare and community settings. I mentioned the choir that I hosted for dementia patients earlier, but in the UK, for example, the Singing for the Brain program run by the Alzheimer's Society is a similar initiative that uses group singing to help people with dementia and their caregivers connect and communicate. Worldwide, there's other choir groups for people with chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, which is a lung condition, and they've shown improved breathing patterns and morale as well. And in prison rehabilitation, singing workshops have been used to help build empathy, reduce aggression, and create a sense of hope. And similarly, in addiction recovery programs, group singing fosters community and emotional expression in people who are often isolated and even mistrustful of others. So just to kind of summarize, singing is accessible. It's low cost, which makes it great as a healthcare intervention, and most importantly, it works. And it's not just choirs. We see the power of group singing ripple out into so many areas of daily life, even the unexpected ones. Karaoke nights, football chants, religious hymns, all of these are modern rituals of communal singing. They help us stake our identity, process emotions, and feel part of something larger than ourselves. Take sports chants, for example. At first glance, they may seem like nothing more than a rowdy roar from the stands, but they're actually a profound form of synchronized social expression. One study found that collective chanting at sports events significantly increased feelings of social bonding and cohesion, even among strangers. This effect was attributed to both the rhythmic synchronization and the shared emotional investment in the outcome of the game. And another study noted that musical synchrony in groups fosters pro-social behavior and trust, reinforcing the sense of belonging and cooperation in high-energy settings like stadiums. These chants often carry cultural references, personal memories, and collective emotion. In the heat of a game, they become a form of identity assertion, even catharsis. You don't just watch the match, you feel it, you sing it, and you live through it. And then there's religion. For centuries, hymns and chants have played a central role in worship rituals across different traditions, from Gregorian chants echoing in European cathedrals, to Sufi circles in the Middle East, to the soaring gospel harmonies of African American churches. In these contexts, singing is not just praise, it's embodiment. It creates a sacred container for memory, belief, and belonging. Actually, one study found that group singing in religious contexts increased feelings of transcendence and connection, both to others and to something larger than the self. Hymns serve as a communal memory encoded in melody. They create this kind of emotional architecture. They mark sacred time and transmit values across generations. Even for those who aren't religious, the emotional power of collective singing in a religious setting often resonates deeply, triggering awe, empathy, or even nostalgia. Even karaoke, often seen as this light-hearted entertainment, it taps into the same primal instincts. Because at its core, karaoke isn't just about how good you sound. It's also about emotional risk and shared joy. You're standing in front of others, choosing vulnerability and inviting them to watch you. One fun study explored the emotional impact of karaoke singing and found that participants reported enhanced mood, increased social confidence, and reduced feelings of isolation after singing in a karaoke setting. When a room full of people sings along to someone belting Whitney Houston or mumbling their way through Oasis, it's a collective moment of empathy and release. You're not just listening to music, you're becoming the music together, and that's powerful. With my old work team at Spotify, we always used to sing karaoke together, and genuinely, I think that's what contributed a lot to our sense of community and belonging in the team. We were so close, and we still are, and I think, honestly, I miss those karaoke nights more than anything. I think we need to have another one of those soon because it really just does bring so much joy and we have so many memories as well. It's so much fun. But I want to finish off by talking about some of the most powerful examples of group singing that come not from celebration or worship, but from resistance. Across history and cultures, when people have been denied freedom, dignity, or justice, they've often turned to song. Protest music has long served as a powerful force for unity and defiance. They're like strategies of survival and solidarity. And there are so many examples of this throughout history, so many, in fact, that I actually dedicated an entire podcast episode to it. If you're curious to explore that a little bit further, do have a listen to episode 6, The Sound of Influence, where I dive a little bit deeper into how music has shaped social movements and actually touch mostly on how it's sometimes so powerful that it ends up being prohibited, which I think just shows how amazing and powerful it really can be. Group singing has helped people endure everything from war to colonial rule and apartheid. And one musicologist once described these protest anthems as weapons of mass connection. And honestly, he was right. Singing collectively in resistance is not only expressive, but neurologically powerful. As we've spoken about throughout this episode, we know that group singing stimulates the brain's reward system. It reduces cortisol levels and boosts endorphins and oxytocin, the neurochemicals that are associated with trust, bonding, and emotional resilience. And this means that even in high stress or traumatic conditions, communal singing can serve as both psychological buffer and motivator. Singing becomes a way to regulate emotion, manage fear, and maintain solidarity under pressure. What comes to mind for me is the stories that you hear from the world wars and the trenches, and how soldiers used to use singing as a way to self-soothe, bond with each other. And there was even one case where the British and German soldiers, which were fighting against each other, actually bonded on Christmas Day through singing Silent Night in their respective languages. And honestly, that's one story that has always stuck with me from school. And I think it's just a testament to the power of music and the power of singing for unity and connection, even between enemies, because at the end of the day, we're all human. And singing is so innately human. And I think it's just something that we can't fight against. And in those moments of high stress, we do anything to maintain that bit of sanity. And if singing is one of the things that can help us to do that, then that's incredible. And that brings us to the end of this episode. In today's age, we might sing in a choir or at karaoke, but deep down, we're doing what humans have always done, which is using our voices to feel connected, safe, and understood. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please rate or review on wherever you're listening and share it with someone who loves music or singing just as much as you do. Don't forget to follow us and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. Also, don't forget to join us over on Instagram and on Threads at the Sound Mind Talks. Don't miss out on those discussions where I ask you all for your input. I absolutely love hearing your reflections. So thanks again if you did submit something. I'm also going to put all links in the description. I started up a monthly music membership club that you can join for exclusive content like monthly sessions, workshops, digital resources. It's a lot of fun, so come and join us on there. And also you can just support the podcast if you feel like giving something. If you've enjoyed our episodes, if you feel like they contribute to you having a better week, if you learned something, do just come and support us. It really means a lot, so thank you so much. But that's all from me, so until next time, keep listening, keep reflecting, and I'll see you on the Sound Mind.